Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to grecochess, the YouTube channel of chess, where we comment, we discuss, we analyze, and we talk about the game of chess. In this video, we continue facing the chess.com bots, and let's share the screen to show to you what's happening. If you're new to this channel, in the past few months, we defeated all the beginner bots, the 15 of them, twice, once when I was having the white pieces and once with the black pieces. This went very, very smoothly, no draws or defeats. The intermediates, another 15 boats, we defeated them also twice, once with white and once with black. Most of them very easily, but a couple of them we had some issues, we had to try again. Advanced things are becoming even tougher. We have already defeated the first 6, meaning the first 5 on the first line, and the latest Arthur twice, both with white and with black, but we had much more issues. In fact, with Arthur, to achieve these 2 wins, we had to suffer 3 defeats in the meantime. But we eventually overcame that bot, and now it's time for the next one, Jonas. And as you see here, Jonas rating, Jonas from Germany, and the rating of Jonas is 1700, 1700. In this video, we are facing Jonas when I'm having the white pieces. And I'll try to play until I win. Hopefully this should not take too much attempts. But at this level, the games become much more exciting because compare Jonas' rating of 1700 with my officially United States Chess Federation in 1656. And on chess.com, I have 1800 in the Blitz, about 1750 in the Rapid, and 1500 in the Bullet. Usually these bots don't play so well as their rating, but it seems that if I play my very best, I can defeat them, but the smallest error and I can easily lose. But let's see what's going to happen with Jonas, and we're starting. And Jonas started saying by saying "Guten Tag." This is good day in German. If I win, I feel happy and sad at the same time. Well, Jonas, if you win, I'm not going to feel happy and sad at the same time. I'm only going to feel sad. But let's see what's going to happen with my white pieces. I start as usual with pawn to e4. You love this move. And now you play with the super modern opening. And now the wonderful quote by Michael Tal, the former world champion of chess. You must take your opponent into a deep, dark forest where 2 plus 2 equals 5, and the path leading out is only wide enough for one. Yes, so, but let's continue. So Jonas wants to develop his bishop to g7 and fianchetto and control the entire a1h8 diagonal. This is what's called a hyper-modern chess. And I'm going to, in my second move, to place my pawn at d4, 2 pawns at the center. Wonderful. Jonas? Exactly. Bishop to g7. My queen already protects the pawn at d4, but why not overprotect? Knight to 3. Pawn to d6. Now time for me to develop my other knight to c3. Develop my pieces, control the center. Knight to c6 for Jonas. What is happening? The pawn on d4 is attacked twice by knight and by bishop, but is defended twice by knight and by queen. My next move, let's spin the knight. My bishop to b5. Will you see the best move for black? Will you put your bishop on d7? Yep. Short castling for me. Continue my development. Attacking my bishop. What can I do? I have to be careful. Bishop cannot go to d3, otherwise I lose the pawn at d4. And since bishops are better than knights, let's send my bishop back to e2 and not exchange. Pawn to e5 for Jonas. This has one little problem. The moment I push my pawn to d5, I'm not going to take because I'm attacking twice and let's see how many times I'm attacking. Let's count. Once and once twice. And if you're defending once with your knight, once your pawn, and once your bishop. So Jonas is overprotecting, but I'm going to do something else. Pawn to d5. By doing so, I attack the knight on c6, and after the knight goes anywhere, the bishop on g7 is blocked. Knight goes to d4. What can I do now? I have to be careful. If I take the knight, then the bishop on d4 attacks my knight on c3, and the queen cannot save it because there's a bishop on g7. I don't want to send my bishop to g7 just for one moment's attack on the black queen on d8, because the black has many ways to defend. I'm going to place my bishop on e3, develop my bishop, my dark color bishop, and also Jonas needs to do something about his knight on d4. Takes my knight, I take Jonas' knight. And your bishop on g7 is still blocked. Oh, now you send it to h6. If I take it, knight takes. But you have knight that is far away, and I'm going to do it. I'll push my pawn on h3, so you cannot push your pawn on the bishop to g4 and attack my queen. What else can I do? But then the queen can come to f6. I So yeah, if the queen comes to f6, there's a dangerous attack. I'm going to put my queen to d2 and force you to exchange because I'm attacking your bishop twice. You're defending only once. Will you see? Yep. The lower rated bots might let me win pieces like that, but not Jonas. And now we don't have this wonderful fianchetto bishop that Jonas had, and weakened it by placing the pawn on e5. And now I'm going to take on f5, open Jonas' defenses. See how will he get back. He has at least two edges. And now what I'm going to do, check. And Jonas must move the king. No castling for Jonas. Yes, better king, you king. Yeah, I wish your knight was not there. What if my queen goes to g3? Check. How can you answer it? No, it's not even a check. What did I do? I was stupid. Why did I think it was a check? My queen, I have to save my queen and not too many squares to save it. I'm going to send it to d3. Not to have more squares to save it. Queen goes to h4, attacks my bishop. My bishop goes to f3 to save it. I hope Jonas doesn't have a mating attack. It doesn't seem so. Dangerous, yes, but mating, no. Oh, knight go to g4. If I exchange the dark colored bishop, let's see what can I exchange. Jonas is sending a lot of pieces to the attack. I need to exchange them. Dangerous, but not so dangerous as it looks, because bishop on b5 attacks my queen on d3, and if the queen moves, I lose my rook on f1, but fortunately I get the pawn on c4. Let's take the knight. I want to win as many pieces of Jonas, because Jonas has one strong attack along the king's file, but that's it. If I can survive it, a material is the same. I also want to activate my rook. What I would like to do is exchange the bishops if possible. And the rook on g8 is ready to attack. I place my pawn on h3, it becomes what's called a target, or I want to activate my rook, but the pawn chain that starts from c7, d6, e5, f4 is too strong. Jonas has a very good position, I have to say. And bishop can go even here to 5. If rook goes to g8, things will become very difficult. Of course, my queen can go to h7 and win the pawn. What if my bishop goes to e4 and threaten the pawn a7? But even without the pawn, if I take the pawn, this opens the h file for Jonas. Let's see if I can win the pawn on h7. No, king goes to protect it, but can queen check? Not exactly. Queen can go to f3, and so what? At least this blocks the rook. Let's block my rook to e1. Hopefully it will can join the attack. If I take the pawn, bishop goes to b5, and it's very dangerous. So I'm not going to do it. I'm going to put my pawn to b3. I don't want Jonas. Yes, here we will get the opponent. Jonas cannot yet, at least. Oh, rook to f8. I don't like it at all. Can I counterattack? Can I win the pawn at a6? Let's try to win it. I can't see anything else. The game is not going well at all, even though the material is the same. Exchange bishops, yep. This bishop was very dangerous. I'm glad I exchanged it. I can win the pawn at a6. And then most likely Jonas will move his king from g7. I really wish. Yeah. The problem is I can easily win the pawn at a6. I'm one pawn ahead, but Jonas is going to move the king from g7 to f6 or f7 or h6, doesn't matter where. Place rooks and queen on g7 and have a very nasty attack. Now that there is no bishop, am I safe if I exchange queens? I open my king, but Jonas has only two rooks. Of course, Jonas doesn't even need to exchange queens. But if he doesn't, I can check from d7. Oh, yeah. Things are not easy at all. The big question is, take the pawn on a6 or not? If I can survive to the end, the outside passed pawn a2 is wonderful. But will I survive? What if I push my pawn to g3? Jonas will not take it. Will push his pawn to f3. I'm going to take a chance. Take the pawn on a6 and see what happens. If I let it go here, it's dangerous. If I let go here, the rook on f1 is lost. But I'm going to move my queen from e1 to e3. If I take it, there's check coming. I mean, the queen goes to f3. Things are very difficult. Because I'm going to place my rook on e3. So if Jonas takes the pawn on g2, no, does not. In fact, threatens me with mate. And my rook cannot take the pawn because of the pin. I have to defend the checkmate, queen to g2, so pawn goes to g3. There is no immediate mate, but there could be in 2-3 moves if I'm not careful. Next move could be checkmate if I'm not careful, so I have to push my pawn to h4. But queen goes g4, h3, and mate. Look at that. If my rook goes to e4, this can block the queen from going to... Oh! I messed up. I blundered. I lost the rook, but it wasn't already difficult. But okay, let's see what can do. Yeah, we pushed the pawn. I don't think there's any hope now. That's it. Oh, yeah, yeah. First game, disaster. I think you deserve another chance. Want to try again? I don't think I deserve it, but I'm going to try again. I blundered my rook in a very difficult situation. But let's see the game review, because I think that the game was going bad even before the blunder. It seems, of course, I know the blunder I made. I was even slightly ahead here. Let's see how things were going. Here, I was ahead. It was a mistake to take the pawn. I should have pushed my pawn to f3. Great, great, great. I'm almost equalizing. And here's the blunder. Yes, I should have placed my queen on e3. And then, yes, that is a problem. So, no reason to go through every single move, because it doesn't matter what wonderful open you make if you blunder later. This was my mistake. My queen on a3 could have given me a fighting chance. So let's fight again. Very much. Let's see if I, in this video, can win. Guten Tag again. My tag is not guten at all, Mr. Jonas. Might be guten for you. Start the same way. And now you play the same way. I wish I had gone through the entire review to learn by heart what I should do, should and should not do. Now you place your knight on e5, and I'm going to change. Oh, will you take with the bishop, or will you take... if you take with the pawn, it's wonderful, you're blocking, but if you take with the bishop, you open your lines. That I don't want to see happening. I'm going to place my bishop on e2. My bishop, now my bishop comes... Oh, he doubled my pawns, but on the other side, he lost the wonderful long diagonal. And if my push my queen to d4 attacks the rook on h8, and whatever defenses you have are weakening your position. You're going to push the pawns of the knight. The knight. I'm going to play... What happens if I put my bishop on h6? You cannot castle. But previous games you could not castle and you won the game. Let's take en passant. My queen was in danger. And now let's threaten the rook. Where can my queen go to be safe? And go, for example, to e3. I want to do now, I don't want just to take the knight because this will help the queen come out. I want to threaten the knight, not to threaten, to pin the knight. And if I can send a second piece for attack, I know you want to send your pawn to h6 and try my bishop, but that ain't going to happen. Queen is attacked. I'm going to exchange your bishop. Threaten the queen. Where can the queen go? It has lots of squares to go. For example, here, if you go here, we exchange queens. If I take your queen, open the I open the a file for the rook. That's what I don't want to do. Let me castle, which Jonas cannot do, at least not on the king side. Here there is danger. No. Am I winning a pawn? What happens if I win the pawn on h6? If Jonas takes my queen on e3, I take it back. If Jonas uses his rook, then I win the rook. Let's take the pawn on h6. Hopefully that's not a blunder. Now I can change the queen since there is no open file, but my pawn on c3 is unprotected. Let's attack the bishop on g4, see what it's going to do. Just be careful. Ah, that I didn't notice. But at least lose one, gain one. Can we win the b pawns? Because the c2 pawn is lost. Yes. Check, win the b7. Can I push the a pawn? If the a pawn was not there, would put my rook on e1 and threaten mate. Put my rook on a1 to protect my pawn on e4. Want to win my pawn on e4 and g4? Go ahead. In the meantime, I'm pushing my pawn. The problem is that, yeah. Jonas has at least a draw. And now I'm not going to put my rook on f1 because then we have mate. What if I put my rook on f7 here, win the pawn? Yes, now Jonas cannot check me from f2. The case is the following. I have to take the rook, otherwise it's mate. My pawn goes to e7, safe for now because of my rook on f7. I want to win the pawn on g6. Win it here because the other one I'm going to lose no matter what. I want to see, did I miss a chance? No, I did not miss a chance. So I thought I had the combination, I didn't have it. Meaning a pawn goes to a8 and I check from here with the rook. No. I'm going to win the pawn on g5 and see what Jonas is going to do. Yes, that's what I want to do now. And you see why. I'm going to exchange the rooks. Now let's see, is my g5 pawn going to win? Let's look at the square. The diagonal goes. The square, because the moment we exchange rooks, the black king is going to be outside the square and my pawn on g4 can promote safely. And I don't think that the two pawns can overcome my one pawn to promote. I'm going to exchange the rooks. Yes, of course. And now my pawn can easily go to promotion. On the second attempt, I defeated Jonas. My queen. So I have a queen. Let's get rid of one of the two pawns. Have a second queen and the pawn is not near enough promotion. If it was on the d2 square, it would not promote, but if it was on c2 or a2, maybe. Now let's be careful to win the game. I'm going to put the king and the queen near the pawn, attack twice, defend it once. No stalemate, I got scared for one moment. No, now can I win the pawn? I don't want stalemate. Constrain the king on the 7th and 8th rank. And be very, very careful. I've too many times suffered from stalemates from completely winning positions. This is getting a little worried, a lot worried for you, Jonas, and your only hope is a stalemate. My queen goes to b3. Now king goes to c6, king to a7, and stalemate. Excellent, checkmate. Good. So on the second attempt, we defeated Jonas. Easier than what I thought. Let's see here, because there are some lessons to learn, especially about endgames. And we'll go fast through that. Don't want the video to last for too long. 84% for me, 71.9 for Jonas. Jonas had two blunders. I played 2100, Jonas 1400. And here, look at this side. This says that at this point, I had. Let's see what's happening here. Because suddenly it seems I lose all of my advantage. Let's see how. I have plus 5.12. And I have made in 10 moves. Yes. I was blind. I didn't see it. I should have taken this rook here. That would have been my best move. Fortunately, in spite of that, I was able to win the game. I had to try a lot later, but I didn't see the pawn in the middle. So this is one warning for all chess players. You may know all the theory by heart, all the tricks, all the skills, but on the actual game may not be able to use them. Your mind goes blank, and that's what happened with me. I should have taken the rook. Clearly, this was a huge miss for me. I should have taken the rook. And now the game would have been a draw. I had to use all my skills. Yes, rook should have gone to b2 to threaten checkmate, because now, after that exchange, I'm up. This was inaccuracy. What should I have done? Place my rook on e1. And which was the right idea? King goes to b7 to win the pawn with the king. But now really I saw the great move, the combinations, I showed you the squares. And finally, even though the second attempt, we beat Jonas with the white pieces. Not playing optimally, But that's a lesson both for me and for the viewers, I hope. Next video in the series, I'm facing Jonas with the black pieces, but in the meantime, there is a third round of the Winter Swiss in the Queen Chess Club. As if you've seen the previous videos, I had a loss in round number 1 and win in round number 2. Let's see what's going to happen now later tonight in round 3. In the meantime, here check I'm putting my choice. Once I face the bots, hopefully in a couple of videos, I'm going to face Jonas with the black pieces. Let's see how I'm going to do this time. But that's for now, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to all the viewers, subscribers, the comments, and the likes. See you in the future videos. This is grecochess. I'm your host, Karilaos Aniziris. For now, goodbye.